สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning our Cornell friends from Bangkok, from around the world, and from Ithaca. My name is Kamunai Chaichanien, ex-president of Cornell Club of Thailand. I graduated MNOR in 82, and MBA in 1983.
Welcome to Cornell Club of Thailand. This is live from KMITL, King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Lat Krabang. My name is Savani Sethsatira, Cornell Law School, class of 1983. We are very excited to be here today. This is the first mini academic symposium from our friends in Cornell. I mean, we have the leaders in AI, engineering, agriculture, engineering, and biotech to speak on the future of foods.
We have chosen a particular topic because Thailand is an agriculture country, and also Cornell Agriculture School is the top university of the world. Actually, Thailand and Cornell has a long relationship in the field of agriculture. We have graduates from 1900s and until now, which have worked on the field of agriculture between Cornell and Thailand to establish know-how and knowledge transfer. And it has been a very fruitful relationship for both parties. Also, today, you will hear stories from 3 generations of Cornell alumni who have helped establish Kasetsart University, which is one of the top universities in Thailand, and especially in the field of agriculture. So I hope that today's sessions will be very useful for all of us.
On the second part, we will have 3 Cornell to speak on the future of foods. And then we will have a special video.
Yeah, we will have a video also from Cornell. Wendy Wolford will talk to us from Cornell, and also we will hear from the professor from Cornell about the climate change in 2030. Also, if the weather permits, we'll have a tour arranged by KTML to visit the greenhouse and the unicorn project, which may have unicorn or no unicorn, we don't know yet.
Last but not least, may I introduce Dr. Kittipong Kittiyarat, our friend from Cornell. Well, I feel like I'm back to Cornell again. Dr. Kittipong is an executive director of Thailand Institute of Justice. And now he is the Chancellor and Council Committee of KMITL. Before I hand over the microphone to Dr. Kittipong, I would like to thank KMITL for being our host today, to use our facilities, and to have the whole team with us today, especially the faculty who work at KMITL, who spent a lot of time in organizing this event. Dr. Kittipong.
Thank you, Kun Kamunai and Kun Savani. Greeting to all Cornellians all over the world. First of all, on behalf of King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Lat Krabang, or KMITL, I would like to welcome all of you to our campus. Welcome to those of you who are here with us today, and welcome those of you who join us online from all over the world. On behalf of KMITL and on my own behalf as a Cornell alumnus from the law school and former Cornell University Council, we are very honored and delighted to co-host this event with Cornell Club of Thailand. The topic for our discussion today, as I saw in the brochure, is really timely in this because since we know that as we speak, there are still a large number of world population who live in hunger. So it is opportune to discuss how modern technology and innovation in the field of agriculture could be used as tools to provide adequate world food and fabrics, end extreme poverty, boost shared prosperity, and freeze increasing world's population. Therefore, new age technologies focus on robotics, precision agriculture, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and more in order to improve productivities and predict climate hazards are very important for the success of our future endeavors. In this connection, it is nice to know that Cornell has been at the forefront in this field, having provided a number of advanced research and innovation on food and agriculture. Cornell Agritech has become a world leader and an important hub for food and agriculture research, technology, and innovation. Cornell College of Agriculture and Life Science, or CLAS, founded in agriculture and focused on life, is also a premier institution of scientific learning, tackling the complex challenges of our time through purpose-driven science. The Wall Street Journal Thai Higher Education 2020 College ranking ranked CALS #1 in agriculture operation and related science. At KMITL, the campus that you visit here today, we truly believe that education and research in science and technology are the foundation of the development of the nation. KMITL has been known as one of the leading centers for the future of food development. We are the home of Factory Classroom and Food Innopolis, two well-known organizations and networks that produce a number of worldwide research in agriculture and food development. Factory Classroom is a research unit of the School of Engineering established for training research students, assist small and medium entrepreneurs in the food industry, and commercializing agricultural products with industrial cooperation. Food Innopolis at KMITL is one of a kind RDI hub for food industry and agricultural production. We are among the first university in Thailand that combine two academic programs to produce a true double degree program that serve the need of the future farm innovators and investors together. This program is widely known as Agri-Innovator. Since agriculture is a knowledge intensive sector, thus information and knowledge play a role. So I'm sure that this conference will help promoting and adopting the most effective and relevant innovation and technologies to improve productivity and sustainability. Now, I would like to express my gratitude toward the speakers today, participants and alumni of Cornell Club of Thailand and all Cornellians. This meeting has been launched very successfully in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic with the support from every party who give their best devotion and contributions. So I hope that this event will provide not only outstanding technical knowledge, but also strong friendship between all of us. So once again, I'm very delighted to give a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much.
Next will be the greeting from Cornell, from Wendy Wolford, Vice Provost for International Affairs, Professor of Department of Global Development. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. May I introduce Dean of School of Engineering Dr. Somyot, please address to our Cornell friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear the presidents of the KTL Institute Councils, Vice Provost for International Affairs, President of Cornell Alumni Association Thailand, and alumni from Cornell University, including members from the Cornell Club of Thailand. Good day to you all. My name is Associate Professor Dr. Somyot Jetmanipillai, Dean of School of Engineering, KMTL. I am more than delighted to see more participants, alumni, members from around the world, all in one place today. For this year event, the 2022 Cornell Asia Pacific Leadership Conference is a joint effort of the KMTL and the Cornell Club of Thailand to provide opportunities for enhancing collaboration and exploring current interdisciplinary topics, particularly in agricultural and food sectors. As the School of Engineering, we are looking forward under the vision of Global Engineer. We focus strongly on researching, creating high technology and innovations in food and agriculture in order to expand opportunity for Thai agro industry to reach the highest point in the both being a manufacturer and developer and entrepreneurship. So according to the current world agricultural development trends, we have courses that provide knowledge and respond to the agro industry, including agricultural robotics, drone and machine learning, controlled environment agriculture, and agricultural biotechnology. Under the names of innovators, where students who attend the program who have the skill of both an innovator and agriculturist, which can fulfill the needs of the future and smart farmer and farms context. Now, once again, I would like to express my appreciation for joining the moment here, an event here, as this event is a platform to gather all Cornell alumni and discussion on the latest knowledge, new innovations, and finding in engineering. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to you for being here today. Wish you enjoy this great memorable time, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Next will be the greeting message from Wendy from Cornell from Ithaca.
Greetings to everyone from Ithaca. Here it's evening, the weather is gorgeous. I hope that you remember campus like this. It looks just like it does behind me right now. I hope that you're having a wonderful event. This is the last in a series of events for this year's Asia Pacific Leadership Conference. And I can't tell you how much, even with this gorgeous weather here, that I wish that I could be with you tonight. My name is Wendy Wolford. I am the Vice Provost of International Affairs and also a faculty member in the Department of Global Development. I want to say thank you very much to Kun Kamolnai, Kun Sawani, Dr. Kitapong, and Dean Somyot for hosting today's fantastic program. I remember the last time that we were all together in Bangkok just a few years ago, although honestly it seems like a lifetime ago. I hope that you have time to talk about important issues, talk about Cornell, and also talk about the next time that we'll be together. The topic that you're all discussing today, the future of food, I think is one of the most important topics in front of us as we head into the next 100 years. There's so many different angles to this topic, from production, from inequality and access to the production technologies, to the very innovations that we require in order to be able to sustainably produce enough food for 10 billion people on this planet. So issues from the future of food, from production to harvesting, to distribution, to consumption, and then to all of the post-consumption waste and renewal questions that are so important. These are questions that, of course, affect all of us. They affect all of us where we live, where we eat. They're part of our culture. And so as we go forward in thinking about innovations to help us to produce more food, more sustainably, better food for the nutrition of those who need it, let us also think about our social bonds, the kinds of ties that bind us together over a dinner, over a meal, as I hope you all are doing, as we did when we were together in Bangkok. The future of food is not a question just about producing enough calories in order to keep everyone alive. The future of food is about producing a life in which we thrive, in which we live well. And so I hope that amidst all of your important conversations about new nanotechnologies and digital agriculture and the sustainability of agroecology and other important questions, that you also take a moment to break bread together and think about the importance of food in the society that we live in today. At Cornell, as I know all of you know, food is at the core of what many people work on. In my college, in the College of Agriculture and Life Science, we're concerned about all the different issues of food production, distribution, and consumption. In my own Department of Global Development, we think particularly about how people live on the land, how those who produce the food and those who produce the raw materials that go into much of our food are incorporated into society and into our otherwise very urban lifestyles. In other departments and other colleges around campus, we think about hospitality. We think about, in computer science and engineering, new digital techniques, new nanotechnologies that will help us to be ever more efficient in the amount of water or the amount of fertilizer that we use to feed and nourish plants. I think that these are some of the most important questions, as I said, in front of us going forward. And I'm very, very pleased that you're all discussing it in this global forum, the Asia Pacific Leadership Conference. I think we need global partnership, collaboration between peers, peer universities, between community partners and private sector partners. We need this sort of collaboration because the questions and the solutions look different depending on where you're standing. And it's only together that we will be able to see the fullness of the question and potentially arrive at an answer. So global cooperation is going to be important. I'm very excited to be working on the global hubs. And as all of you know, I hope the global hubs are our premier sites of strategic integration in a critical set of places worldwide. Of course, Thailand is one of those places, and so we hope to see you at the Global Hub in Thailand as we go forward. Stay tuned. We'll be sharing more information about that. All of this is only possible because of the alumni like you from the region who support us in being enthusiastic Cornell alumni, in coming out to events, in championing Cornell in a region where increasingly we feel that it's been a couple years, right? I feel like we are far apart physically, but because of our alumni, we feel closer and feel a certain sense of pride in being able to say so. So thank you to all of the local alumni. Thank you for organizing this event. Thank you for everything you do for Cornell. I hope you have a fantastic event, a great discussion, and I look forward to talking with you all again. Take care.
Next will be the presentation on Cornell and Thailand agriculture, a century of partnership. The presentation is started by Associate Professor Dr. Pongthep, class of 1977, presented by Assistant Professor Sasithorn, class of 2005, voiced by Associate Professor Kitiya, class of 2012, and photo by Kun Bandit. Please.
One of the most frequently asked questions is what makes Thailand one of the major food-producing countries. The answer is simple. The industrious nature of the Thai farmers are with modern agricultural science and technology. Among the group of the pioneers who introduced modern agricultural science in various disciplines are Thai Cornellians. Today, the legacy of their contributions are very much present and can be seen in the name plaques adorning some buildings or in Kasetsat University and units of the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperative. This humble-looking building is one of the early buildings of the Bangkhen Central Agricultural Compound, north of Bangkok, constructed around early 1940s. The building was named after Praya Pochakorn, or Mr. Drit Milintasud, the second Thai Cornellian. He went to Cornell around 1912 to study agricultural science with emphasis on plant breeding. Upon his return to Siam, he was appointed to serve as the first director of the first Rice Experiment Center. Armed with the new scientific tools, he and his colleagues launched the first ever attempt in rice varietal improvement. The result of the work is the first prize of the World Rice Varietal Competition. Just across the three-line road of Pochakorn building stand the statues of the founders of Kasetsat University. The university currently ranked as one of the top universities in agriculture and forestry in Asia. One of the three founders is Luang Inkasi Kasikan, or Professor Insi Jantarasachit, a master's degree graduate of the plant breeding department. He studied at Cornell in the early 1920s and a member of Cornell's International Agriculture Society. Professor Jantarasachit devoted his entire life working in agriculture development and have been appointed Director General of the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. Under his helm at the department, one of the country's largest scientific development endeavor was launched to improve the production of Thai rice. These projects were operated in partnership with the Foreign Office Mission of the United States of America. Professor H. Lerf from Cornell was specifically requested to jointly direct the project. Professor Jantarasachit subsequently relinquished the post of Director General to take up the position as the President of Kasetsat University. Two main facilities at Kasetsat University are also named after Professor Insi Jantarasachit. There are Insi Jantarasachit Stadium, is the main multi-purpose stadium of Kasetsat University, and Insi Jantarasachit Building is the first lecture hall of Kasetsat University. At the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperative, there's also Onkasi Kasikan Building, which named after Professor Insi Jantarasachit's noble rank. Standing proudly in front of inscription of his life and his contributions is Professor Bun Intrampan, a graduate of Cornell in late 1920s. He is the first Director General of the newly founded Fisheries Department under the Ministry of Agriculture and concurrently held the position of the first Dean of the Faculty of Fisheries, Kasetsat University. Today, we can say essentially all Thais are malnourished. The large portion of the protein diet of the majority of the population in rural areas come from the inland fish farming. We all owe Professor Bun a debt of gratitude for his farsight-seeingness. Bun Intrampan Building is the main building of Faculty of Fisheries, Kasetsat University. Chakapan Auditorium Hall is the main auditorium hall of Kasetsat University. It's named after Prince Chakapan, who studied for his master's degrees in plant breeding under the guidance and supervision of Professor H. Love. When the monumental rice development project of the joint Thailand-USA was launched in early 1950s, the prince was asked to leave his vice president post at Kasetsart University to take the responsibility as the country's coordinator, working with his former mentor, Professor H.H. Love. Subsequently, he was promoted to Director General of the Department of Agriculture and the Rice Department at the same time. He returned to Kasetsart University as its president in the 1970s. Upon his retirement from the presidency, he was appointed chair of the University Board of Councils. Under his tenure, the university experienced growth and development in many areas. The new campus at Kamphaeng San was established. Many partnerships with the overseas development institutions, including the World Bank, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, etc. During his later years, the prince was appointed as member of the Privy Council. A good friend and a student contemporary of Prince Jakapan at Cornell during 1930s is M.R. Tachyong Sao. He is the first Thai to study the science of entomology. Cornell's Department of Entomology is the first of its kind in the world. M.R. Tachyong brought to Thailand the practical knowledge in crop protection. He pioneered the work in the study and cataloging of insect diversity of Thailand. The building, which houses the largest insect museum in the country, is named after him. M.R. Tachyong also served in some important government positions, including the Permanent Secretary and Minister of Agriculture under his term at the ministry. M.R. Tachyong successfully launched a large agricultural development project in the Northeast in collaboration with USAID.
Next will be the speaker from Cornell Club of Thailand. The first speaker will be the youngest speaker among the three speakers, Kun Ugrit Unha Lekhapan. Kun Ugrit graduated from engineering school in 2011. He set up Rick Hill, which is a venture-backed social enterprise that help farmers in Thailand and Pakistan increase farm productivities and access affordable loans. Liquor is an award-winning from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations. Could you agree, please?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Great.
Okay. Hello, everyone. สวัสดีครับพี่เชอรี่ขอบคุณที่เชิญมานะครับ I will give you guys a quick presentation on what I see as a future of food and opportunity in Thailand. So it is a great pleasure and privilege to be speaking for Cornell Club of Thailand. So I went to Cornell MH in 2011, studying operation research and information engineering. So actually I'm using a lot of my class knowledge from Cornell to do this startup because I studied optimization and did a lot of AI coding when I was at Cornell. So I'm applying that knowledge to the agricultural space in Thailand. So I think what is unique about my company and what I'm working on in Thailand is that I'm approaching agricultural problem from a mathematician and computer scientist. So we try to see how can we optimize the agricultural value chain in Thailand and how can we make the food system in Thailand and the region better. So I'm going to present some more today on what we do. So to give a quick background about the agricultural landscape in Thailand, right? So this is the number from BOI, which is the Board of Investment in Thailand. So Thailand is one of the food basket in the world. So we are one of the top cassava exporter, canned tuna exporter, pineapple exporter, and the number 2 rice and sugar exporter in the world. So unlike other maybe European or other countries, we are actually a net exporter in terms of food and agricultural product. So that's why we have a huge relationship with agriculture in Thailand. But this is what have been for the past centuries. Right now, I think we are in a new economy where the economy is getting tougher and tougher to just export commodity crops, right? Rice, cassava, corn, because right now we have to be honest that we are in a globalization world. Thailand started to face competition from neighboring countries like Vietnam, China, Malaysia, right? So every country, because they have a land, they're very close to Thailand, every country can grow rice now, they can grow cassava, they can grow sugarcane now. The question is that how can we bring the agricultural and food landscape in Thailand to the next generation? So the Thai government has came up with a policy to drive Thailand to the next stage in terms of future of food. So this one, I'm just taking this off from the NSTDA, which actually a lot of Thai Cornell alums actually work here as well. So I'm just borrowing this slide to present to you guys on what the government and the Thailand is seeing as the next generation of food and agriculture. So we believe that we have to take agricultural commodity product like corn and wheat and rice to the next step in terms of value added. So we try to see what type of industry can we apply agricultural product to, because Thailand is very good with raw material, right? So the government see that we should focus on bioeconomy, circular economy, and green economy, because right now the consumer in developed country like Europe and America are demanding sustainable product, right? If any one of us is following the COP26 that just happened in Glasgow a few months ago, or if anyone follow World Economic Forum's trend recently, a lot of the conversation right now around the world are talking about things such as ESG, talking about sustainability, talking about carbon neutral, talking about sustainable product. So that's why the Thai government and the industry and company in Thailand are seeing a huge potential in turning agricultural product, like let's say cassava, right, into bioplastic. So usually you go to convenience store and they give you a plastic bag, right? And usually it is very bad for the world, because when you throw away, it takes very long time for it to go away. But right now you can turn cassava and sugarcane into bioplastic that is made into like utensils. You can use fork and spoon. You can get plastic bag from bioplastic as well. So this is an example of a green economy that the Thai industry is shifting toward, and that is what I'm working on, to switch farmers to grow higher value products so that they can turn into higher value end product that we can export. Another good example would be renewable energy. I'm not sure if you guys are aware that sugarcane and cassava or even rice husk can be turned into biomass energy or ethanol that you can mix with oil. So this is a good example that traditionally we used to think that agricultural product can only be consumed and only be eaten. But right now we are turning it into energy. We are turning it into medical product. We actually export a lot of sugarcane capsule as a medicine to Japan right now at the moment. And we are tying this with tourism, because we are one of the top tourist destinations in the world. So right now we are trying to promote tourism in Thailand, where the tourists can go and see the natural product and agricultural product as well as part of their experience in Thailand. So I think for the foreign audience here, I think you will start to see the Thai economy shift more into BCG, and this is one of the core strategy of the government at the moment. And I know that a lot of Cornell alums are involved with this policy. So moving forward, and I want to touch a bit upon artificial intelligence and how it is tied to the agricultural landscape, right? So just if talking about agriculture, it might be a bit old school. So maybe I can talk more about how we bring in innovation and AI into this space, right? So right now, I think one of the top 2 trends in the world right now is undoubtedly artificial intelligence and blockchain, right? So let's start with artificial intelligence first. Right now, you can see that in the world, we are applying AI to many industries. Tourism, transportation, stock trading, we start to see AI coming in to help humans make better decisions. Let's say if you are cryptocurrency or blockchain Bitcoin trader, right? So right now, a lot of trading companies are using AI to help you position your trading position to make the most profit out of your trading strategy. It can be good, it can be bad, it is debatable at the moment. But if you go to Wall Street, right? A lot of Cornell alums work in Wall Street as a trader. A lot of us are using AI to help us manage our portfolio of investment. So the question is that how can we apply AI to agriculture? How can we apply AI to help farmers make better decisions? How can we help farmers automate their work process? How can we help farmers improve their accuracy in terms of planting rice or corn? How can we improve their work efficiency? And lastly, how can we reduce their operational costs? So these are the four main questions that I'm working on to bring in AI to help transform the agriculture and food industry in Thailand. So right now there's at least it's a good trend right now that I'm seeing around the world that people are applying AI for social good, right? Not only in agriculture, but they're applying to social justice to social justice, to public and social sectors, to infrastructure, to health and hunger, to equality and inclusion, to education. So I'm seeing a lot of these good trends that I see a lot of people are using AI to help improve the state of situation in Thailand. For example, I have been involved with TAJ with Dr. Kittapong, right? So I have joined his program, and I see a lot of good initiative where we're applying a lot of technology and AI to help solve the public and social sectors and the security and justice in the sector as well. So right now in Thailand, we have a lot of Cornell alums who are using technology and AI to solve many things in these circles. But for me, I'm focusing on agriculture and food and hunger. So let's move forward on to see what I've been working on. So let me give you a quick background of the Thai agricultural space, especially for our foreign fans at the moment. So when you come to Thailand, right, you might see a lot of tourist destination. You might see Bangkok, which is very developed at the moment. But the sad truth is that 40% of the Thai population are farmers. And actually right now they are making income below the poverty line in Thailand. So this is the statistic from the Bank of Thailand. I'm borrowing the numbers at the moment to give you guys a picture of what is going on. Even though when I started, I told you guys that Thailand is a top exporter of rice, sugarcane, cassava, corn, all these top commodity crops. But if you look deeper and look at who actually produce these agricultural products, they are actually farmers who actually makes below the minimum wage in Thailand, right? And these people make up almost 40% of the Thai population. The question is that how can we increase the export of agricultural goods? How can we bring in more money into the Thai economy? Why not leave these farmers behind as well? How can we uplift the income of these farmers at the same time while our economy grow so that we can have an inclusive growth in our economy? So if you look deeper into how can we solve the problem of both farmers and the mills and the banks at the same time, you can see that we can actually solve this problem with AI and big data platform, right? If you look at the reason why farmers are poor, right? I can give you a quick example of the problems that farmers face. So farmers are actually like SME. They're actually like a small business where they have to take loans at the start of the season to invest in their crops. Their productivity is very low at the moment. So their productivity is at least 2 to 3 times lower than the farmers in America, right? If you look at the research that Cornell University is doing in the US, and you compare that productivity with the productivity in Thailand at the moment, the productivity is at least 2 to 3 times different at the moment. And lastly, they have no direct market access. The agricultural landscape in Thailand is still very, very traditional, right? So there are a lot of middlemen, there are a lot of middlemen in the system that comes in and cut the profit margin of the farmers. But on the other hand, the mills, the exporter, the large sugarcane mills, the large cassava mills, they are listed in the stock exchange of Thailand. They also face a lot of problems with their operation and and cash management. So first of all, they face a lot of supply risk and volatility due to climate change, right? If you are a manufacturing plant, you want a consistent supply of crops into your factory to turn from sugarcane to sugar, or if you want to turn cassava into ethanol energy, you want a consistent supply throughout the year. There is a lack of data to assess the risk. Unlike other industry like transportation or marine or financial world where there are a lot of data, you have Bloomberg terminal in the financial world, right? But in the agricultural space, there is barely any data because the industry is very traditional. So the cost to manage the operation is very high, and it is very expensive to manage the farmers. So our theory is that if we can bring in technology and AI to help bridge the gap between the farmers and the mills and the bank, we can reduce a lot of inefficiency in the system, and we can give the farmer higher profit margin because the value chain is now more efficient. So that is what we are doing in Thailand at the moment. And we are working closely with a lot of huge corporate in Thailand. We are working a lot with the government as well at the moment to drive the agricultural industry forward with technology. And one thing that I have to stress on is that in the past, we have been focusing a lot on COVID-19. But I think one of the biggest risks for developing country or emerging market like Thailand, not just Thailand, but in our region, Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, or in the South Asia as well, or in Latin America, these countries have a quite similar economic structure where almost half of the country population are farmers. So I believe that climate change will be one of the triggers that will cause a lot of social unrest and political problem as well. Because in the past, COVID-19, it might affect a lot of middle class and upper middle class business in the country, not so much with the agricultural space, but if climate change comes with drought, with flood, it will affect the bottom of the pyramid, and it will cause a lot of social problem in the next decades. So the question is that how can we help farmers and how can we help the economy cope with climate change and drought and flood? So this will be one of the biggest problems that the world leaders will have to think upon in the next decade. So one thing that I see as an opportunity is the digital disruption and technological change that happened in the past few years, right? So if you go out to a rural Thailand, most of the farmers now have access to smartphone. Smartphone can cost between $50 to $100 at the moment, very cheap. And the internet penetration is very good as well. So the question is that how can we bring in this concept to help the farmers manage their plantation? So what we do is that we create a technology platform. We call it AI for agriculture, where we do things like a robot advisor, where we use machine learning and AI to compute the soil data, weather data, and supply data, and we process it with AI to help the farmers make 5 key decisions in their farming practice. So the first question is that what crop should they grow? Second is that when should they plant the crops? When should they apply their fertilizer? When they should harvest? And who should they sell to? Right. So if you apply this concept to trading, if any one of you are traders in here, right? So the concept is very similar to how you do a stock picking. Should I buy Facebook or Amazon at this time? When should I sell my stock position? How should I arbitrage my position, or how should I hedge my trading position, or should I leverage my position? So the concept is very similar, because at the end of the day, agriculture is still one type of business. There are a lot of key business that farmers have to make. And the question is that how can we bring AI to help the farmer make better decisions to make higher profit margin? So that's the concept that we have been coming into Thailand to use technology to help drive these sectors. So the farmers can now access their advice and their information all through smartphone application. So let me open a quick video so that you guys can see in a nutshell of what we do. Let me share my voice as well. Okay, let me know if you don't hear the voice, but I click on share sound. And for the foreign audience, we have a subtitle here.
รางวัลที่ 1 เลขที่ออก
Here, we can hear you.
หวยซื้อทุกงวดเสี่ยงโชคกันไป ถูกบ้างไม่ถูกบ้างส่วนมากจะถูกกินเจ๊งทุกงวดเจ๊งซะเยอะ ลุงทำนาทำไร่มา20-30 ปีแล้วก็เสี่ยงกันไปเหมือนเสี่ยงเล่นหวยปีก่อนฝนดีมาปีนี้ใครจะรู้ฝนแรงเมื่อวานแดดดีมาวันนี้จะใส่ปุ๋ยฝนดันตกจองรถเกี่ยวเอาไว้กาจะเกี่ยวข้าวฝนดันตกความชื้นสูงราคาตกแย่เจ๊งทำเกษตรถึงทำแบบเล่นหวยไม่ได้ต้องใช้มือถือเข้ามาช่วยต้องแอปรีเขาใบไม้วิเศษช่วยเราได้
แอปมีประโยชน์ไงครับ
ก็แอปนี้ก็จะเป็นวางแผนล่วงหน้าเราเพาะปลูกวันนี้อีกเดือน2 เดือนข้างหน้าน้ำจะมีไหมข้าวจะตายต้นตายไหมไม่ต้องเดากันแล้วถ้าใช้แอปตัวนี้แอปตัวนี้จะดูฟ้าดูฝนได้เป็นแปลงๆเลยว่าช่วงไหนจะมีฝนช่วงไหนจะแล้งไม่ต้องเดาชัวร์เป็นเจ้าเดียวที่ดูล่วงหน้าได้ทุกระยะรายชั่วโมงรายวันรายอาทิตย์รายเดือนยาวได้ถึง9 เดือนเลยเนี่ยมีแปลง10-20 ไร่เราสามารถดูผ่านดาวเทียมว่าตรงไหนมีปัญหาจุดไหนเราไม่ต้องไปโดนดูทั่วให้เหนื่อยปลูกใส่ปุ๋ยเก็บเกี่ยววางแผนได้แน่นอนไม่ต้องเสี่ยงเสียเงินฟรีประหยัดทั้งเงินและเวลาเข้าใจป่ะเล่นหวยเดือนหนึ่ง2 ครั้งแต่ทำนาปีนึงได้2 ครั้งจะไปเสี่ยงทำไมง่ายๆไปที่เพจโตหน้าตาแบบนี้แล้วพิมพ์คำว่าเพจรีเขาใช่ไหมคำว่ารีเขาในช่องค้นหาแล้วกดติดตั้งแค่นี้เอง
Okay, so this is a quick example of how we have got a lot of interest from the farmers in terms of using our technology to change the way of farming. So we are taking the technologies one step forward. So I am more like a practitioner. So I read a lot of research paper and do a lot of collaboration with university professor as well. So we try to see how we can bring new technology and new device to help the farmers even more. So right now we have expanded to introducing drone to help spray and help automate the farming process as well. And once the farmers call a drone through our application to spray, they can also track the growth of the crops through satellite as well. So I think this is a good indicator that right now the society is shifting now, that we are going into a new phase in our industrial revolution, where in the world people start to use more digital technology and using AI to help change the way of life and the way they work. So this is an example of, as I told you, operation research by training, right? When I study at Cornell. So I'm still very used to making optimization model and doing graph. So I make like an optimization model to help, this one is cassava farmer. We use satellite to monitor the farm. We can tell them if the things are going well, it will be green in a certain part. If it is red, bad, it is in red. And then we actually make an optimization model to help decide when we should harvest the crops based throughout the whole year and what would be the estimated yield, right? So we can tell them that in 16 March, they will get 52 tons. If they harvest in 1st April, they'll get 58 tons. If they harvest in 16 April, they'll get 60 tons, for example. So now they can have a data to help them decide now when they should do a certain activities in their land. So this is a quick example of farmers who didn't use our technology and the farmer who use our technology. You can see the differences in the corn in the left and right here, right? So you can see that we have a lot of proven success story where if farmer use technology, they will have a better outcome in their farming. So you can see that throughout Thailand, we have these farmers who started to shift the way they work, and now they're adopting technology. So we have over 600,000 farmers in Thailand at the moment. We are hoping to expand to 1 million by the start of next year. And right now we have already expanded to Vietnam as well. So actually off to Vietnam on Monday to launch our technology in Vietnam. So before I end my breakout journey, I want to share this quote that I think it will be very important going forward. I believe that the world's most valuable resources is no longer oil, but data. So if you look at the top company in the Fortune 500 or S&P 500, right, in the US, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it might be oil company, But right now, we are starting to see a shift in trend where right now the top company in the world are all like technology company where they store a massive amount of data and they use AI and machine learning to generate insight and come up with new business model. And this is what we are trying to do as well in Thailand. So we try to digitize the whole agricultural value chain through our platform. We have one side for farmers and another side for exporter, right? And we want to ensure raw material security and better living condition for the farmers. So we work with a lot with large enterprise and mills, right? But we told them that if the farmers cannot survive, no one will grow sugarcane, no one will grow corn, no one will grow rice for you. So you cannot exist as well. The question is that how can we bring technology to drive sustainability in this whole supply chain and make sure that people can live together in harmony and they can drive the agricultural space in Thailand forward together. So I have 4 more minutes. I want to just give a quick example in other countries as well as I see as a trend that's going on around the world at the moment. So right now, this is from the US, right? So I have to admit that US is like the top country in the world right now that use farming data, they use drone, they use automated tractor to automate the farming process. So right now, our farmers in the US have at least 1,000 acres in land on average. So the question is that how can developing country like Thailand farmers learn from the US farmers and see how we can bring in more and more technology to help drive the agricultural sectors. We start to see a lot of example in other countries where the labor cost is very expensive, right? Farmers are getting older and older. How can we use automation and technology to help drive the productivity and reduce the cost? We start to see a lot of good example where they use drone and use a lot of AI and remote sensing. So there starts to be an integration of knowledge between the computer science department, engineering department, and the agricultural department to drive these sectors. I really like this image. So this is an example of indoor farming near New York, right? You guys know that New York, near Manhattan, the cost of land is very, very expensive. The question is that how can we do indoor farming and use robot and sensors to automate a lot of this plantation so that you can transport these crops to the customers in the city very cheaply and efficiently. So as the land price get more and more expensive, as the labor costs get more and more expensive, I think this will be a new trend in the world where you start to do a stack in terms of indoor farming and you use robot to control all the plantation. So this is another trend in terms of food that I just met the Prime Minister of Thailand in the past week in the National Policy Council and also the government from Singapore as well. Singapore is putting a lot of focus in terms of alternative meat and alternative food, right? So you can start to see like vegan eggs, you can start to see things like Beyond Meat, where right now people start to see how can you cultivate meat and eggs and protein from lab rather than you have to grow, raise a hen or you have to raise a cow in nature like what have been in the past centuries. Question is that how can you make a lab-grown product in the future going forward? Another thing that Singapore is putting a lot of focus on is in the aquaculture, which Thailand is very strong at. But I think we will start to see a trend where more and more countries start to invest in their food security and new farming solution. Not only traditional crop like corn and rice or sugarcane, but you start to see aquaculture as well. And they use AI and machine learning to help grow and manage fish. I think this will be a new trend coming forward in terms of using advanced technology and might be sponsored by the government to make sure that the food security is secure. Because if you guys follow the trend right now in Ukraine and Russia, right? Ukraine is one of the top exporters of food in the world. Once war come in, and there are a lot of food security issues going on around the world. The question is that how can each country invest in agriculture and food system that make sure that their citizens are food secure. And you start to see a new trend in terms of metaverse and AI, where people can start using metaverse to help plan their plantation. They can see all their knowledge, what is going on right now, and the chef can look at all their ingredients and their recipe through metaverse with AR glass. So I think this will be a very exciting trend going forward. So that's all I have for today. Thanks a lot for the opportunity and happy to answer any question after the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Could Ugrit. It is very interesting on your AI global advisor. I hope that the farmers will have a better life by using your AI. And I hope that you have a very successful journey in Vietnam and hopefully in the future somewhere else in Asia and around the world. The next speaker will be our Assistant Professor Patrachai Vichaya. He's our host today. He used technology which he studied at Cornell Agriculture Engineering School 30 years ago to develop a greenhouse at KMITL. Ajahn Patrachai, please.
Good morning. I am Pat Vichaya, Assistant Professor in Agriculture Engineering from King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Tachyong Sao, Lat Krabang, Bangkok. Today I will walk you through the greenhouse in my department. This greenhouse is the closed greenhouse, unlike the greenhouse that popularly used in Thailand. This closed greenhouse consists of a series of fans. I will walk you through the fan here. In this greenhouse, there are 8 fans to exhaust in greenhouse outside the greenhouse. This is closed. This greenhouse is a closed enclosed greenhouse. So we need a series of fans in order to exhaust the heated air inside out. So the fan itself will be turned on automatically according to its temperatures. On the other side, there is an evaporative cooling fan. On this side of the greenhouse opposite the fan, there will be an evaporative cooling pad in order to cool down the outside temperatures. And when we have the evaporative cooling pad, the inside temperatures will be reduced in order to reduce the heat inside the greenhouse. Now I will take you to inside into the greenhouse. Today is the 10th of April 2022. Now we have planted melon. This is the first day of planting is 14th of February 2022. Now it's about 2 months old now. This melon, we have 9 rows of melon. And another thing, now we are inside the greenhouse. Now the greenhouse is under the sun, direct sun. And we measurement of the temperatures in front of the evaporative cooling pad. Now the temperatures in front of the cooling pad is 29.6 Celsius. And the temperatures around the center of the greenhouse is supposed to be at the tip of the leaf. Now temperature of the leaf is need to be 32.9 Celsius. And the temperature in front of the fan is 32.3. Now today is right now is about 11 o'clock in the morning of the 10th April of 2022. So the temperature inside the greenhouse itself, it's not very much high. So with this condition, with the sunlight and control temperatures inside here, we can grow several kinds of plants. Now we plant 9 rows of melon. The reason we plant melon is because of melon is high price. And another thing else, we can plant strawberry. But in this condition, strawberry doesn't produce fruit, but is instead giving the vegetative way. So we can have the vegetation or propagation of strawberry instead of getting a fruit. But again, if the temperature can be reduced a little bit more, planting strawberry can be successful. The rest of the greenhouse we will be used for teaching the students grow planting in greenhouse. Now, if we come to this part, which is not very much vegetation as this one, so the temperature inside the greenhouse generally right now at the beginning, at the middle of the house come out to be 28.8. So with this condition, the greenhouse will be good enough to plant anything for in tropical country, Thailand. So we now look around the production of the melon. This melon is very popular in Thailand and it's very expensive in Japan. Now we can use the Japan variety to plant it in Thailand. Actually, melon like a hot climate and we can plant this 3 times a year. Enclosed environment greenhouse like this, the melon is grown well. Temperature under the leaf. Temperature of the leaf is 34. Now come down to 32. With the technology of internet and Internet of Things, the greenhouse can be automatic control using mobile phone. Now I will demonstrate to open the air remotely. Open the fan remotely with my hand, and again, this can be set automatically at the temperature we want. We can open all the fan according to the temperature of the greenhouse. So now I close the fan. And then we got to go see the panel to control the IoT. This is the system configuration of the IoT. The IoT box, the Internet of Things box control will be on this box. And then all the command, automatic command and manual command will be sent the signal to the control box here. All this box and magnetic connector is linked to the fan or the fan in the greenhouse, and all the system in the greenhouse include electricity, include the plug and power supply. This can be automatically controlled and can be manually controlled. Once you place the button, and then the light of the fan will be on. I will say fan number 3 here. So this is fan number 3. Fan number 2 right here is fan number 2. This is for override, but now it is in the automatic mode. So we let it as it is. With the IoT system, we can not only control, but with that, we can go to see what's going on in the greenhouse by camera recorder. At this point, we have the camera right in front of our control panel and control everything here. So we can see in real time. We can also see everything inside the greenhouse by the camera inside the greenhouse. With the aid of Internet of Things, we don't have to go inside the greenhouse and open and on and off button for fan and everything else. Now we come to the part of fertilization. For the whole greenhouse, we use hydroponic system, so we don't need to mess with all the dirt and earth and all the substrate. Now everything will be fertilized through water to the plant inside the greenhouse. Now we have the automatic fitting of fertilizers, and in hydroponics we always use solution A and solution B for fertilizers. Both solutions cannot be mixed together before feeding, so it has to be mixed right at the time that we will feed all the fertilizers to the plant. And again, fertilizer itself, if fertilizer A and fertilizer B mixed together, sometimes the solution has a higher pH, and plant doesn't like the high pH. they like pH of about a very mild acid, which is about 6 to 7, or less than 7 pH level. So everything here will be controlled automatically through the EC system controller and pH system controller. So for both greenhouse and fertilizers, if these two systems can be controlled automatically or can be controlled by itself, so the gardeners or the farmers has less work to do. Okay, I will end the tour now, and thank you for watching.
Good morning to everybody from the world and in Thailand and in the United States as well. Well, this is my presentation in addition to all the video tape that we see. Actually, before everything else, that we have to talk about our country in Thailand vision of the 2035, the 37, that the government says that in order to develop our countries, we need 3 strategies. The first one is the security of the country, prosperity of the people, and sustainability of the country as well. So with this strategy, we need a direction. So we call this direction is Thailand 4.0, right, which can be divided into 4 areas of development. The first one is Thailand 1.0, which is agriculture-driven areas. The second one is Thailand 2.0, which is light agriculture and light industry. The third one is heavy one, and the next one will be Thailand 4.0, which is society of innovation and smart farming. Well, before we go to Thailand 4.0, we have some problem with we call middle income trap. The middle income trap put Thailand into a very difficult situation, as that we are being squeezed between the lower wage competitor, and another one is the rich country innovation. Now, it's a bit bigger now. Now we trap in the situation that we call the middle income trap. Now, in order to get out of this middle income trap, the government has proposed the development of 5 strategy, which is, first of all, is food and agriculture and biotechnologies. Second is health and medical technologies. Third is robotics, smart device, and mechatronics. The fourth one is
artificial intelligence, and the fifth one is cultures and high value service. Well, come to the agricultures, we have some problem. Four of the problem that we confront is disease and pesticides. And what we have to do is we have to improve our soil fertilization and irrigation, and another one is smart spraying, mean that we have to attack all the insects and insecticides. Now we have divided agricultures into four series of segments. The first one is when we move from nothing to really agricultures. And then once the mechanization come into the society, that more or less. The greenhouse has been there for over 100 years, and mostly you quite pretty greenhouse. This is more or less a decorative greenhouse. But the greenhouse itself has been used very roughly during the winter time. And we can keep a plant during the heavy snow inside the greenhouse. Greenhouse can be used with sunlight and without sunlight, and we can use electricity to energize our plant. Now, the big system of the greenhouse can be anywhere in the world. It can be in the coldest place, in the world, and still working. Now, we have the low greenhouse, we have the high-rise greenhouse, and we all now, with the technology that we can use greenhouse in the desert and in the dry area, providing you having all the necessity, especially water. And this is becoming very popular to grow cannabis, both inside and outside environment. Well, the greenhouse itself, it's not just there. It has been taught in Cornell. I have been learning this greenhouse design with Professor Louis Albright in 1987. Well, the context or the concept of greenhouse that you have to manage the environment inside the greenhouse, like you have to use curtain, you have to use hot air in the cold environment. Sometimes you have to use cold air in the hot environment. So the concept is just to manage the environment inside. And that is another concept that this is called natural ventilation. We thought that the heat from plant will be going up and then going outside. But when it's written, it looks sensible, but actually, it cannot be practical at all. Now, the greenhouse concept is another way that you can have second roof here in order to separate the hot air and the cold air. Now, this is the greenhouse in Thailand. They have been using this kind of design to use in the greenhouse. There is another pictures of the greenhouse. And this greenhouse, the floor of the top roof of the greenhouse is being installed with the plastics. And again, you can see this is it's been erected right beside the building. And once it's finished, it is being covered with the shading. Greenhouse can be used for planting, really planting. Greenhouse can be used for in the hydroponic, for the nursery. And actually that's not me. Somebody else who can have to a second span of the greenhouse. Now the greenhouse is like a tent with very heavy covering. And you can see all of this is very popular and it's been spreading all Thailand. The concept really for the greenhouse in tropical country that you need to have the cooling pad, evaporative cooling, and then the fan in order to take out the heated air inside the greenhouse, and the cool air from evaporative cooling come to the rest of the greenhouse. So this is the greenhouse that we have here in KMITL, and hopefully that we'll be seeing it at the end of the tour today. So greenhouse not only can bear fruit, but it can be plant something else like edible flower as well. Well, I will end this presentation by showing this Cornell, which is the founder of the greenhouse. Founder of Cornell. He started his career as a carpenter, and then moved to the mechanics. And then he, right here, as I highlight there, he purchased the plow, and then he used his plow, to install telegraph and install the electricity. And later it's come out to be that it's not successful to install electricity under the ground using plow. But has been told when I was in Riley Rob Hall that Cornell really, make Cornell University out of agriculture. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, ค่ะ อาจารย์พัทรชัย I would like to go back to Cornell campus now to see the statue of Ursula Cornell at the art squad again, hopefully very soon. Yeah, okay, and then after this, we will see the real greenhouse where I understand that Ajahn Patrachai grows melon first, which is ripe on time. Exactly. Okay. So our next speaker would be Dr. Sage Chaya Pechera, graduate from Cornell in 1999 from Food and Science. Dr. Sage is an aquaculture specialist working at National Center for Genetic Engineering and Biochemology, Integrative Aquaculture Biotechnology Research Group. Well, if you came to Bangkok for Asia Pacific Conference 2019, you may remember Dr. Sage. At that time, he's the head of Cornell Chorus at the time. Okay, Dr. Sage, please.
Sawasdee krap, and good morning to everybody joining us here from Bangkok today, and good evening to those joining us from Ithaca. So I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Sage Chaya Pechera. I'm class of 1999, College of Agriculture and Life Science, majoring in food science. I'm currently work as a researcher in National Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology of Biotech in Thailand. My work is dealing with aquaculture. For most people in the Corner Club of Thailand might recognize me as your MC. But you guess what? Most of the people doesn't really know what I'm doing. So I think this is a good chance for me to show you what I actually do for work. So let's get right to it. So for most people, when you think of shrimp, you probably think of your favorite dish. But I'd like to take you back just a little bit further to tell you a little bit about the story of shrimp before it gets to your plate. And more specifically, I would like to talk about the rearing of shrimp and the prototype of the next generation pond that integrate disease control and environmental monitoring with the zero exchange of water. Let me first start by sharing with you the reason why I think aquaculture is important. This figure come from a published report by the FAO, the status of the world fisheries and aquaculture. It shows that aquaculture accounted for 52% of seafood for human consumption in 2018. And with the growing population and the demand for seafood that surely will rise with it, they projected that aquaculture will be the driving force behind the growth in global seafood production in 2030. And so this slide shows a little bit of summaries of Thailand aquaculture. Aquaculture production accounted for about 38.7% of total production, with marine shrimp being the third largest in total production after marine fish and freshwater fish. Despite being the third largest, it provided the highest in total value of 61.6 billion baht from shrimp in 1 year. And aside from that, it's also provide employment to about 24,000 farms. And three major areas of shrimp aquaculture in Thailand are the central, the eastern, and the southern areas. So I would like to highlight certain areas of shrimp farming in particular. This map showing the location of where the meetings are held today at King Mongkut Institute of Technology Lat Krabang, right next to the Suvarnabhumi Airport. And to the west of that is Bangkok. And just toward the east from our location today, for about an hour of driving, you reach the province of Tachyong Sao. The Tachyong Sao Province is famous for many things, including the temple of the Luang Pho Sothon, which many Thais would have heard of, and also the old markets and good eats around the area. But it's also a very productive area for aquaculture as well. I'm going to zoom in on the red rectangular area. And you could see this curious looking dark square with a lighter edge, such as these, all over, scattered all over the Bang Pakong River area. So these are shrimp and fish ponds. Tachyong Sao has the highest number of shrimp farms in the country, and all of the farms are considered intensive or developed farms. So what a typical shrimp ponds look like? It's pretty much as a square generally with a lined polyethylene sheet to prevent the erosion of the sides, and it has water about 1 meters deep. And the things that will probably make you can identify it as a shrimp pond is the aerator that looks like a paddle wheel, like this. And also another thing to notice is the auto feeder that feed the fish. And there are many factors to think about when you raise a fish, but most importantly is that of the feeding and how to deal with the waste product that comes from the fish. Fish lives in water, so their urine and feces goes out into the water that they're living in as well. And trying to dealing with these waste products is the most important thing. Well, nature has figured out a way to deal with these waste products in the natural body of water for a long, long time. But in aquaculture, similar things also happen. And the most important part to deal with is the feces, which gets turned into ammonia and nitrate especially the ammonia and nitrite are highly toxic to aquatic animal, and so they need to be converted to nitrate pretty quickly to reduce the toxicity. And the important groups of bacteria that doing that is called nitrifying bacteria, which are a very important group when you would like to deal with managing of the waste product. And different rearing system has different way of dealing with these waste product. The batch cultures pretty much just trying to manage the waste product in one growing cycle. The flow through system is pretty much just let the waste product goes out with the water as they flow through. The recirculation techniques, treating the waste product with the biofilter, and the sea cage releasing the waste product to the large body of water surrounding them. Zero water exchange pond, using a different ways to dealing with the waste altogether, is that by treating the waste inside the pond by not trying to exchange the water out at all. Recognizing that water will be a limited resource in the future, and aquaculture will have to compete with other agricultural sector, industry, and also human use for water. The use of zero water exchange will minimize the water used to rearing shrimp while doing the treatment of the nitrogenous waste using the advantage. You take advantage of the bacteria in the system, especially of those of the nitrifying bacteria. In addition to that, without water exchange and intake of new water, it's also a better biosecure, that is minimizing the disease that could comes from water, or preventing the seeds from getting out into the outside environment as well. So in the province of Tachyong Sao, we are very lucky to have a collaboration with the Chai Patana Foundation at the Farm ทดสอบ สาธิตมีนเกษตร 2 น้ำ. So NASDA, which is the organization that biotech belongs to, has a collaboration with the Chai Patana Foundation for the use of this facility. So the foundation generously allowed us to use 2 of their ponds for research purpose. And so one of them, we using them for testing of different equipment and rearing management. And the other one is for the prototype pond. So the research pond looks like the typical shrimp ponds that the farmers are using, except that we build an additional footbridge where we could walk and take sample of shrimp or take water sample for monitoring. In addition to the footbridge, we can also put in the weather station to monitoring sunlight, temperature, and rainfalls as well. So I mean, those input can be used to manage the rearing of shrimp. Aside from that, we also have a bunch of monitoring sensors. The important ones are dissolved oxygen, or DO, or pH and salinity, which are very crucial for rearing of shrimp. So now we're going to talk about the prototype pond. It looks quite different. Once you walked into the facility, you can see that the prototype pond has a net which covers the whole area of the pond to prevent birds or other animal from getting in. And on the inside, it almost looks like a research pond, except that the whole bottom of the pond is lined with polyethylene film sheets. And we also have a sediment hole where we could gather the sediment and pump it out. And so far we have tried one crop of shrimp in this zero water exchange pond already, and we're about to try another one in a few months. I have to say that there are many different types of zero water exchange pond being tested, in other places internationally, and I'm sure there's some in Thailand as well. But every location is a little bit different. And for us, I think it's very important to actually do it in Tachyong Sao Province, where there are a large concentration of farmers who grow shrimp for a living, and so that they can see that the potential and the possibility of using technology. Because I think more than anything is the opportunity to start a dialogue and exchange of ideas between research scientists and farmers. It's heartwarming every time when we put on a seminar or sharing of our results, and there are lots of people from the nearby area, even from different province, coming to listen to what we have to say and showing great interest in the technologies and disease testing program that we've put into to use in the facility. So I hope today you learn a little bit more about shrimp aquaculture. I'm trying not to make this too technical. I hope that's okay. And I think I'll have to say that in the past, shrimp aquaculture probably doesn't have quite a good reputation. But I think in the past 10 or 15 years or so, the industry have come a long way in trying to improve the environmental influence and the sustainability of the shrimp aquaculture, because they realize that for the industry to keep growing and be a significant part of the seafood supply for the growing population, they need to keep the industry and the production sustainable. So thank you very much for your attention. That's the end of my talk. I'll leave my email up here just in case anybody want to get in touch with me and ask more questions about aquaculture. I would be happy to help you or find someone who knows. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the talk and the tour.
Okay, I just wanted to see if there are any questions either from the audience or audience in this room, or the audience that could potentially be somewhere, anywhere around this world, actually. Are there any questions? Is there anyone that raised their, you can raise your hand or you can just turn on your microphone and ask questions. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay, so is it me?
Yes,
Can you
please go ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Shum Shanit. I'm graduate from Cornell 84 Engineering. It's good to see that there's a lot of technology that's applicable to agriculture way of life in the world and in Thailand particularly. However, I think from an investor point of view, have we done any quantification of the benefits of the new technologies, such as how much productivity it will increase or how much cost it will reduce? And would that be attractive for most of the plants or only some of the particular plants? Because most of the plants like a commodity product and the price is quite different. That's the first part of the question. Second part is in terms of net zero or carbon impact to the world. I think, would that be benefits or would there be any non-benefit items to those technology as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Khun Sumsanit. Thank you so much for asking this question. Can I actually turn this question over to Ajahn Pattarachai, who would be far better at answering this question than I am. And so
well, I'm just have to listen to the question again.
P. Sumsanit, Piki, can you ask the question again?
Okay, the question is, have we quantified any benefits from those technology that's being presented, like how much productivity it will help or how much cost it will reduce, and how would that be an attractive investment for investor to go pursue those technology in a greater scale for Thailand, for example. The second question is about the carbon impact to the world, whether those technology has the positive or negative impact in terms of greenhouse gas. Okay. That's the two questions I have.
Well, Well, the first one is the benefit from the technologies that we have. Well, actually, my field is engineering, really. What we have here is, the engineering itself to help the farmers to do their job much easier. Well, the cost itself, has to be determined at the end of the the operation. So I really cannot tell very much about that yet. The second one is carbon footprint, and again, this is really new. So we don't have really the answer for that very much. And I'm sorry that I cannot answer a lot of questions this time.
Let me try to answer for the other two that are not here. I've worked with Ugrit as well as Sage on a few occasions. And so I know their work quite well. Well, not as well as they do, but they're not here to answer that question. But in terms of Ugrit's work, it's very clear that by using his program, they've been able to minimize the use of fertilizer and while increasing output, because they're able to track the growth of their crops a lot better. Okay, and so at least the carbon footprint, it not only saves the world in terms of decreasing the salinity of the water around that area by decreasing the amount of fertilizer that's being used, but it also saves money for the farmers. And so it makes farming much more sustainable and less of a financial burden. In terms of Sage's work on shrimp, his ability to use the ponds for multi-generational growth of shrimp, the ability to get rid of the waste from the water, to effectively get rid of the waste from the water, certainly makes the pond much more sustainable over multiple generations. And so there's no clear calculations on carbon footprint and the decrease of carbon footprint yet. But we can certainly see the decrease in the use of assisting technologies, such as the use of fertilizers and the use of pesticides, as those two uses are becoming less and less as we're using technology. And so just in place of Sage and in place of Ugrit, I think let me just give you just short answers to those questions. I think we're somewhat running out of time, so I think I'm going to close with those two questions, if that's okay. And I think we're going to turn the room around to give the chance for our senior members to say thank you to the hosting group at KMITL, and we have some thank you gifts that Cornell has sent to us to Thailand, and so we wanted to share those thank you gifts.
Well, I think that now while we make preparation for the gift exchange, we should take photos together, not just people at KMITL, but our friends online. Can you open your camera and keep on smiling and say "see" for Cornell? Khóa ค่ะ ขวา See. เขาจะเห็นเขาจะต้องเห็นเป็นอย่างนี้เขาต้องเห็นอย่างนี้เขาต้องด้านขวาขวานะคะขวาเปิดกล้องให้ข้างของคอนแนลด้วยนะคะ C for small. ขอบคุณค่ะ The exchange between Cornell and KMRTL.
ขอเชิญอาจารย์พัทรชัยค่ะ
Okay. So, well, the next program will be unicorn tour. So, I mean, our friends who are at KMRTL will hop on the unicorn bus, and then we will go to the greenhouse. While we are in the greenhouse, while in the bus, we're going to have the clip video from Cornell about the climate change 2030.
The 2030 project is really about action. It's about solutions. It's about our ability as a university to help the world with what is considered to be the biggest threat we face. The science is clear. This decade is the decade of action.
With the 2030 project, we're going to bring together all of Cornell's expertise to move research, insights, and discovery into large-scale impact and solutions. The Cornell Atkinson Center for Sustainability will continue to serve as the hub of research from across the campus to bring solutions of all sorts to climate change.
How does our world get to a place where humanity's carbon footprint is lowered. At the same time, we're not compromising the quality of life for people in the developed world and not, sort of tampering or throttling, if I will, the ambitions for growth in the developing world. So those are big goals.
I see an opportunity not only to advance our impact in terms of research, technological development, policymaking, and the study of human behavior, but also to really deploy our spirit of research, collaboration, and communication to make a real difference in the world.
Solving climate change isn't just understanding the problem. It's really about identifying solutions, technological solutions or policy solutions, and then getting people to do those solutions. What we can do now is so much more than we could do 10 years ago.
I feel as a part of kind of this generation, there's always been this looming presence of climate change and a lot of fear oriented around climate change. So I think it's important that within my research and a lot of people's research that we address that through like repair, redress, hope-based discussions, to kind of allow and inspire a lot of people within the institution and within academia to create that change.
It's a lot more productive to know where we came from if you're trying to figure out where you're going. My hope is that my work contributes to that kind of conversation where we can say, look, nothing that's happening right now is brand new. We've been in dark times before, and we've figured out ways of coming through them. And there are many, many different aspects to that problem, including just cultural mindsets.
We work on materials and characterizations for batteries and fuel cells. And so this can have a direct impact in, let's say, the objective of mitigating climate change and how do we address global energy needs by, in some sense, modifying what the energy landscape looks like. The issue with renewable energies is that it's intermittent. So you need sort of large-scale storage of electricity to basically fill in those gaps where either the sun is not shining or the wind ain't blowing. And so the development of large-scale electrical energy storage is one of the big challenges.
There is widespread literacy on climate impacts, and
ไม่ใช่ไม่พร้อมเครื่องมันไม่ดี
feeling despair myself, and at the same time trying to inspire students to see that there are alternative ways and how they need to be the leaders who are able to imagine these cross-cutting, interdisciplinary, and holistic solutions in order to be the people who can be out there creating the change in the future.
ปิดเครื่องก็ปิดไม่ได้เลยอาจารย์
So about 5 years ago, we started the Northeast Regional Invasive Species and Climate Change Management Network. And the purpose of that network is to actually bring together policymakers, managers, scientists, to really figure out what are the questions we even need to ask to address this problem. What's the information gaps out there that are preventing people from making better decisions, and also making sure that all the science that's buried in scientific journals actually gets in the hands of the people that need it.
As a forest ecologist, we primarily try to understand how ecosystems work and how they respond to environmental changes, which gives us the tools to understand how to manage them better. The suite of advanced technologies with advanced satellite remote sensing and on-site sensors allow us to monitor and understand changes within our ecosystems like never before. We understand how they work and how they're changing to changes in climate and other stressors like invasive species.
I work on the future of food and how to feed 9 billion people sustainably. And this involves ensuring that we leave no one behind, that we feed people with as much equity as possible and within planetary boundaries of water, of climate change, of nutrient loads, protecting biodiversity and all forms of land on Earth. Climate change is one of the most existential threats that we face in the area of food security, primarily because it impacts food production directly. We have a real responsibility as people working in high-income countries to also try to actually mobilize resources and mobilize technology and opportunities and solutions for low and middle income countries. At the end of the day, solving the climate change issue will only work if we leave no one behind. And we are key to contribute to that effort.
One of the projects that we're working on relates to how we can produce clean hydrogen while removing CO2. The advantage of implementing this process is that not only have we captured the CO2 molecule, but we've actually removed it from our emission. And that actually gives us a clean hydrogen that we can now burn without having to worry about the implications of CO2 on our climate. So for me, being able to have this opportunity to impact that mission of the planet using some of the things that I like to do, which is to build things, to engineer things, to think about new problems, is really personally very empowering.
In this urgency to act to address climate change, it is so important to also maintain focus on the specifics of people's experience on the ground. So I feel like my work is trying to look at that complexity and take that into account in the study of agricultural biodiversity, and to think inclusively of people's experience when they're trying to adapt to this, when they're trying to do
was like a student activity, and then we just come with the project that we want fully electric, and how can we bought one from the everything here, and then actually we have a lot of professors that we doing research like this. And then I told her, okay, I'm gonna do it for you. That's why this project comes from. And then all the this is a PU material, everything, food, and on the product, even though like steering is come from the eBay and like a collector, and we want to send a message to students. If you want to be entrepreneurial, you need to build something by yourself first, and then this kind of one of the education platform that I told the dean that okay, why not we doing this one in the campus and then with the people. And when I first thought about design, I have a memory with the San Francisco. Oh. Like people say that I have a memory, and then we want to show the student that hey, if we have a DNA like this, you can see that and we can merge together, and then San Francisco is a city about that. So and then the original idea from that one. Years ago, and then after that, I would say that only one part that we export, or we import, and other parts we build ourselves here. That's why we say that innovative intention. And then hopefully, if we have a battery from EA in the next 3 parts, we can say that made in Thailand. So that's a final process. And then this you can run per charge. For one charge is 150 kilometers. we have a 20 kilowatt permanent magnet synchronous machine. Professor at and then have a company in Thailand who build it for us. And then all electric control is myself also and coding. And then the end of project is that and the light, and then you can see that they have a lot of records here because of now. And then we want to do like this because we want to collect all the data that has the driver behavior and then the road size and the speed limit like that. And then after that, in the do this one as a that's the end of the project. And because of just like we want to do like a investing like a when the student comes to do the project, right, in the fourth year of the project, the senior project. They are working together. Now they graduate in this year, and then the next year we're gonna have another 16 students, so that continuous, and then they can maintenance by ourselves. Students have a new idea. They told me that why not you change that? Why not you change? And then I have some like a small and now we say then that we want to buy like 3 of them also. And I told them that okay, I'm going to build here first because the order on the Dr. Taiwan, she asked me to be like to build more than 5. Yeah. And then this one we can run only 30 kilometers according to the law, and they don't have a license yet. So you cannot go outside. You have to be in the campus only. So in Kenya, we have 4 zones of the student, and then if you have like this, to have from each zone, so you have connect. And then the application coming soon, students can have the application, and then they just that how many passengers in the future, and then they are waiting because of it's so hot. So that's why the students don't want to wait for a long time, and because they want to control some time for them. So they are really good. Now we are heading to the architecture, yeah, and then they just like the environment is quite different, yeah. They have more green area, and then before we go to greenhouse, the green area first, and actually they have 2 students and the we can see that each have an education platform. Then when students see they have an idea, I want, but yes, I say it's fine. You can send it to me. Why not have to be San Francisco? Why not to be Latuba? They just send it to me. So in the next 2 years, we can have like a fantasy. So if you do like a project like this to inspire the students, they come from like architecture, and then they come from the engineering. Engineering students say, I don't want orange. I want the red one like this because of the engineering color. Go to one sepia color, and then that's why it's going to be colorful campus in the future. And what else? And now you can see here. Normally 1 kilowatt hour. You can run maybe in the big passenger car like this have to be 1 kilometer or 1 kilowatt. But you need But in this car, 1 kilometer we can run until 4 kilometers per 1 kilometer. So we need 4 times for a normal one. But this one doesn't have air conditioning yet. So it's like we run really slow, and also like when we have a lot of students, so the air conditioning, and then with the COVID-19 also just taking out, and here just inspired from the train. If you go to the east side of the train, they're gonna have the window like this, and then I just go to the railway station, and then I ask them, okay, you have a reused material, something like that, and then they just give me the issue. And yeah, it's just actually that's based on the quality in the lab, and then just sometimes the holding like that is I think if you what is that, the curtain, right? I pick up from the curtain, and then go to buy one, is a plastic one, and then yeah, it's from the box that we shipping like a battery, they're gonna have in the box like that, just label it. So many people might ask me before that how much. I said that it's unvaluable because of sometimes just how. But Ajinomoto asked me, okay, I give you 2 million baht per car. I said yes. I said yes. I don't know what exactly you have to do, but 2 million is fine. Ajinomoto already, estimate the price for us. Because they have a factory, right? And then they have a guest to visit their factory, and they want to the car like this. Not in the campus because Ajinomoto already now for the clean factory, and then by next year they plan to have like they plan to announce the carbon. They want like this because of they say that reason. Based on it's just like some of my friends. The classic, and just tell them that okay, the classical and the technology is the one that can work together and to get any innovation, right? So all the 15 minutes for the fast one, but if you have done too early, 4 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, it will be fine. For find the doctors. When the car, they're gonna go to Palang and then when you the volunteer in the city authority, and then I will for them, and then if you want a license plate, you need to pass that first. Pass that week up there. Sometime over the week, I read some of the marathon. Wow, yes. Then Bailu is just like a 1 ton per 5 kilowatt. And then this is less than 2 tons, right? So if we know oh, so actually we have the solar rooftop we can use for the charging and then use for the but construction is cannot because of we need more power than that. But what the thing is that in the I think in 3 months, less than 3 months, we're going to see charging stations in campus, and the students they start to use electric car, electric vehicle, and then with the government support like this, and then we have city a lot of things. So that's why I asked the team to build one. Station.
นี่ก่อนมานี่ Hello. Welcome to our agriculture engineering greenhouse.
Hello.
Welcome to our greenhouse. It's a agriculture engineering greenhouse in the School of Engineering. Our greenhouse here has been funded partly by the frame to farm, the skin, the frame has been sponsored by frame to farm, and the rest of the attachment has been from the continuing education from the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of University and Research. The greenhouse here practically can be grown everything in tropical countries. Because of the climate in Thailand is let's say a hot climate. So in order to plant in this greenhouse, we need some cooling system, which is the evaporative cooling system. Again, the evaporative cooling system is not like air conditioning that we can fix the temperature. The evaporative cooling system that you have to rely on the weather, like humidity of the air. If you have a high humidity, evaporative cooling will not be working properly. But again, we thought that Thailand is hot and climate. Hot climate country, but we can be able to reduce the temperature inside the greenhouse quite significantly. I would say that around we can do in the hottest day of the year, we can reduce the temperature down to about minus, not minus, but the temperature and minus 10 degrees of the actual temperature. That can be done. And the temperature to as best as we can is about 35 inside the greenhouse, which is not probably which is proper for grow anything inside the greenhouse. So if you can see here, the greenhouse used for teaching and for growing melon. Growing melon because melon is popular. There are certain people growing greenhouse outside, and with growing melon outside the greenhouse is you can really face a lot of trouble like rain, strong wind. But going in-house inside the greenhouse, you don't have that threat at all. So if you have very good fertilization, which is in this greenhouse, we use hydroponics. Hydroponics is using the nutrient to the root of the plant directly. So we can control the nutrients. We can be assured that all the plants, all the greenhouse, all the fruit in the greenhouse will get the same nutrient. With the same nutrient, with the same environment, no threat. So the successful planting of melon can be assured. So from that, that is another flower. This is just vegetable for teaching of the students, and the flowers, which I said it before, is edible flower. It's just not just we go green the flower for seeing, but we do it for eating. So with the flower in the greenhouse, it's very safe. There's no fertilizer. I'm sorry, there's no insecticides or anything. So you just can pick the flowers and use it in your restaurant, in your place right away. So for not to be wasting so much time, so we can go into the greenhouse area. Well, we are so lucky that we still have plenty of products here in our greenhouse. Actually, the greenhouse is the melon here is ready to be harvested. And right now, if you cut the greenhouse, if you cut the melon, you just can eat it right now. It's ready. Well, the seed from Thailand. Imported seed. Well, we just have to try yourself. Now we plant 9 rows, and again, I didn't know that we're gonna have this melon at the time of we have the tour today. So we just plant another tree of the greenhouse. Another tree of the melon. So if this is not be able to show you here, so we have another tree over there. Besides the melon here, we are growing vegetables. We call it environmental food. The hot air outside, the air inside, and the condition into the cold air. Now you can see, or you can hear that the fan over there is automatically. This greenhouse is using the IoT technology. IoT is the Internet of Things that you can control, you can measure, make the measurement of the temperature, and then you now please, there's no soil in there. It's just plant in the water. Hydroponics. So there's the hydroponics. So there's no soil, no dirt, or anything. So you don't have to worry about a disease at all. At this time, we already discontinue on the nutrient. What is ready to discard. You just can, cut right out of the flow with the treating disease. How many months? How many months? It is about this one is about 3 months. So within environment, this is not very much changes. So you can grow 3 times or 4 times per year. So that is the benefit of the greenhouse. We estimate that the cost of the greenhouse construction cost about 40,000 baht per square meter. It is 100 square meters. About 400,000. Well, it includes the fan and you have to put it. So the accessory here is just have to change whenever you want, whatever you want to. Right in the over there, that's up to you. Yeah, I don't want to on the nutrients because if you use soil, plant you have to absorb the nutrients. Actually, absorb the nutrients from the soil. Using this is moderation, so you are going to be able to control so everything.
ฮัลโหลมันพี่เงียบอ่ะเสียงพี่เข้าหมดไม่ได้คุยอะไรเลยนะ
This is the new crop of 2 weeks now. But already the solution of well today why not be something that full exercise not very much because yes all countries look because over here for so Everything can be controlled. And will be very hot now. Very soon. So everything can be controlled from your then you can see what is inside through the camera. Now it's automatically turned on from the better hot down. It's backwards. So we have 4 cameras right there, 4 there, or 4 points. The next one is another level of growing plant. We call it the plant factory. The plant factory itself is a container, or it's the enclosed greenhouse, which is even enclosed. The sun cannot be inside. So really build a space that we can grow plants, any type of plant, because we have the artificial light. They call it here now. It's a PAFL. We call PFAL. Plant factory with artificial light, which is it's a air condition. No light, no natural light. So we use an LED light or another kind of light, but right now an LED light is more popular because the cost of the LED itself is very cheap, and they consume very little power in order to emit the light with the spectrum that the plant needs. So this is it's right over there, so we can walk you through from here. Now this is it's a kind of tea that we use it for the flowers. For the flowers. When there is a flower inside the greenhouse, we just take it and put it inside the greenhouse. But it's working already, and all it when it's done, take it out. So once we're here, just flying, going to take the pollen from another tree, flowers, tree. And what we want to use it. Now, they don't live forever. Well, they don't live forever. They die and they generate from the tree. Yeah. The inside is the honeybee. I mean, honey. What people have one. Innovation. Double degree. In engineering degree, agriculture degree. Double degree. So the student have to be working quite after second degree. I think the new generation of those children, whole generation of the technology that business. Smart farming. เครื่องมาแต่เขาต้องต่อไฟ program agricultureกับ engineer เนี่ยแต่เขาเป็นงานคอย active innovation agricultureก็เป็นพวกคอนเทนเนอร์เขาใช้ในการส่งเข้าจากที่ไปมาทั่วโลกแล้วเก่าแล้วก็ข้างนอกมันก็ร้อยล้านเขาก็เอาผมที่เขาขายพวกคนนี้เขาถามว่าจะไปทำอะไรได้ก็บอกว่าต้องมาลองแต่ต้องเป็นก็ต้องเป็นไม่สามารถเนี่ยเราสามารถ
liquefy natural gas liquefy natural gas ไอตัว natural gas ที่เป็นแต่ยังไม่เก่าตู้ใหม่
แต่มันต้องอินสุเลตด้วย
มันต้องแบบ
ลบก็
แต่นั้นมันจะเป็น
เดี๋ยวนะครับ
เ
ถูกที่อยากโตเร็วได้การพัฒนาไทยครับมันโตเร็วกว่าถูกนอกใช่ไหมครับอันนี้เดือนเดียวนะเนี่ยได้แล้วก็ไม่มีอะไรไม่โตไปเรื่อยเลยไปไหนครับหลังไปทิ้งเหรอใบมันไม้มันติดเอาหักติดก็ได้ไม่มียาฆ่าแมลงยาฆ่าอะไรก็ให้ทั้งหมดแค่ไหนบ้านเราทุกคนขอบ้านที่ไม่ได้ถ้าอาหารขึ้นตลาด
กล้องผมนะครับ
ค่ะขอกล้องน้องเพื่อ
ขออนุญาตครับ1 2 3 1 2 3สักครู่นะครับนิ้วโป้งมาครับอาจารย์ชูนิ้วโป้งเลยครับเราขออนุญาตนิ้วโป้งนะครับ1 2 3ทีนี้เราต้อง4นะเราต้องมี4
เดินเหมือนกันนะคะเหมือน
โอเคครับ 1 2 3โอเคครับสักครู่ครับทำเป็นไหมเดี๋ยวให้กล้องอื่น
เดี๋ยวแม่คะซ้ายคือถ่ายไปเลยเดี๋ยวเราทำรูปสองคน
ทางนี้เยอะๆนะครับต้องมือขวานะครับต้องมือขวาทำนี้นะ
อ้าวเราไม่รู้
โอเคขออนุญาตครับ1 2 3 1 2 3สักครู่ครับมีท่านไหนไหมครับ
เรียบร้อยค่ะ
เดี๋ยวขอถอยรูปให้สำคัญกัน
โอเคได้ค่ะ
โอเคใครซีเรา
ได้ท่านนายก
ฝั่งนี้เป็นเคครับท่านนายกเป็นเคซีครับ
ท่านนายกโอเค
ครับ1 2 3ขอบคุณครับเคซีเหมือนกันคนใดใครเฉลียนเคซีเลยโอ้เดี๋ยวพี่ไม่ได้เงินผมหรอกพี่เงินรับขอให้น้อง
ค่ะเดี๋ยวพี่กระจาย
เดี๋ยวต่อไปเดี๋ยวพี่
ไปด้านหน้าค่ะ
อย่าเข้าใจผิดว่าเราอย่าเข้าใจผิดว่าเราลูกนี้เขามีชื่อแบบไม่มีนะโอเคอันนี้แจกให้คอนแนลนะครับอันนี้ผู้ฝึกนะฮะนะครับ1 2 3เรียบร้อยครับ
มีพอทุกท่านนะครับแต่ว่า1 2 3 5 1 2 3 5 1 2 3 5เดี๋ยวก็นะคะ
1 2ครับขอบคุณครับนี่ให้เป็นฝีมือของแฟน
ขออนุญาตค่ะ
ขยับอันนี้ปลูกไว้นานแล้วนะไว้เองครับ1 2 3ครับแต่ลูกใหญ่นะลูกปลูกนาน4 กิโลตัวใหญ่ชุดนี้ประมาณ3 กิโลปีอาท่านอยู่ด้วยที่รอวันที่ตัดเรารอวันนี้มานาน
เรียบร้อยค่ะเดี๋ยวก็
ครับ1 2
ถ่ายรูปรวมไหมคะตรงนี้เลยค่ะ
เชิญครับเชิญครับ
เชิญอาจารย์
ครับ1 2 3ภาพครับ1 2 3ขออนุญาตอีกภาพครับ1 2 3 1 2 3ครับ
ขอบคุณทุกคนนะคะ
ขอบคุณเป็นเกียรติมากเลยนะครับได้ความรู้เป็นทางข้าวได้เลยอะไรจะได้พูดสั้น
เดี๋ยวยกไปให้ที่ทางนู้นแล้วกันก่อนคำถามของเราเดี๋ยวเอาไปให้รอไว้ตรง We can please conclude our event here. Thank you for joining. เดี๋ยวเอาไปให้Sorry, we're going to conclude our session here. Thank you for joining us from Bangkok. Thank you, our friends from Cornell, and hope that we will have a chance to see you in person at the next Asia Pacific Leadership Program next year, probably. Okay, thank you. สวัสดีค่ะ
เดี๋ยววนไปตัดตรงนี้แต่แบบคือเขาบอกบอกว่าติดไหลหรอกปิดไหลเลยปิดเลย
ถามใหม่นะครับ